Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tami Stackelhaus, fibromyalgia coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with fibro fog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stackelhaus, and this is episode 121. Today, I want to share with you a tool I've been using with my students, clients, and coaches to help manage their fibromyalgia symptoms while increasing their fitness levels. It's something I've been using myself over the last year, and it's helped me increase my fitness levels in a gentle way without overdoing it. I'm talking about the app Gentler Streak. Today, I'm interviewing Katarina Lotrič, co-founder and CEO of Gentler Stories, the creators behind the app. I'm excited to share more about Gentler Streak because it's a gentle and fibro-friendly way to track physical exercise and body movement. Most importantly, with the gentle side of things, it does it without making you push too hard or feel like you're not doing enough. Let me introduce you to my guest. Katarina Lotrič is the co-founder and CEO of Gentler Stories, the creators behind the app Gentler Streak. They founded their studio in February 2021 and received the prestigious Apple Watch App of the Year award in December 2022. In 2023, they were one of 3 finalists for the Apple Design Award in the Visuals and Graphics category, and a finalist for the Slovenian Startup of the Year award. Lake Coloring, an Apple Design Award-winning coloring platform, which Katarina also co-founded, was a finalist for Startup of the Year in 2019. Today, Lake Coloring is the largest coloring book platform in the world, featuring and supporting 100-plus international illustrators, helping over 10 million people unwind. Katarina was recognized as Future 50 2019 by Future and is an Apple Entrepreneur Camp Alumni 2019. Katarina is passionate about creating innovative solutions that address our well-being holistically. She loves cats. You can see why we get along. She loves social walks, outdoor runs, and spending time with her family. Make sure you visit today's show notes page because we have a link to a free 2-month trial of Gentler Streak for all of our listeners. Go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com/121 for that link. Also, keep listening after the end of the interview for more specifics I'll share about my experience using Gentler Streak. This is honestly one of my favorite tools to use right now. It's maybe the biggest tool I'm using right now. So I hope you'll stick around to hear more about how I use it and how it's been helpful to me in my regular life. Here's my interview with Katarina. Hi, Katarina. Welcome. I am so excited to have you on the podcast and to share Gentler Streak with everyone listening. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, I always love to start with how did we get here, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about how Gentler Streak came about? First of all, I know this wasn't your first app, but why this app?
I guess we have to go back to 2018 when one of the co-founders of Gentler Streak was preparing himself for a triathlon. And of course, he read all the books, listened to all of the podcasts. He's done everything he could, but he still managed to burn out in the process. So it was around that time that he was starting to wonder, is there an app out there that would tell me my daily limits and that would also know not just the daily limits, but when is it good to have a rest day, when to stop, and how well prepared he is in comparison to other men in his age group. So that was his story. And around the same time, I got an injury. I mean, I've been a recreational runner for, I don't know, past 15 years. And I got an injury doing volleyball in the summer. And I didn't seek for help, for proper help, for about 6 months.
Ooh.
So I couldn't run. I could do short walks, but I got it was a really bad ache in my thigh. So slowly, running at that time, it was my main coping mechanism. So in a way, that was taken away from me, and the pressures of daily life were all still there. So I got diagnosed with a burnout in March 2018 as well. So when Andrea and I started talking, we're like, okay, so we both ended up in a similar place, but we just came from different places. Like me, I was doing anything while he was overextending himself. So we started there's this obvious connection between, mine obviously was more of a mental burnout while his was physical, but still it all had to do with activity levels. What's the right amount of activity levels for a person? And it's different for me than it is for him, obviously, because we're different gender, different age, different readiness. So we both had different jobs at that time, but he was really into it. So he started developing his first concept along with his mate. So we were testing the first version. I don't know if I can even call it Gentler Streak, but let's say a base for it in the autumn of 2018. And the app showed us when to stop and when to push. So we'd know, okay, today's good to have a rest day. Today I can go longer. So we had this basic, let's say, compass, that then later evolved. So that's the beginning of it. And quite a lot of us were using that raw version of the app. So we saw that it's got stickiness. There was something to it, that you kept opening it. And we also noticed, I noticed that I was more active regularly. Because maybe in the past that may have happened in spurts, or I forgot, or I got sick and then it was hard to get back. But I noticed that this was keeping me motivated. Like I felt I have more control over my active life.
That's great. That's great.
That was the first phase of it.
Yeah. And I think what you just described there, a lot of people with fibromyalgia, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, chronic illness, we can relate to that because we do kind of tend to go in spurts. We're told exercise is good for us, but then we go out there and do what normal people do, and it's too much. And then we crash. And then the cycle just kind of keeps repeating over and over again. And that has actually been one of the things that I have loved most about Gentler Streak is that it's a lot more accurate for how I actually feel and the amount that I should actually do, not like a normal person that doesn't have fibromyalgia, right?
Yeah. And that is because it's based on your body's health metrics. Yeah.
Mine. Yours is based on yours.
Yes. And you have your own normal. You have your own activity path, which is pretty wide. So, you can decide either you're going to take a day off, you're going to step up, you're going to do what you usually do. There's no just one right answer for the day. So you can take into consideration a broader picture, right?
Right. Now, you guys were named the Apple Watch of the Year. And so how did you get from that basic, the foundation of Gentler Streak to being the App of the Year?
As you mentioned at the beginning, I was in a startup before this one. And when I felt that my time there came to an end, that there was not much left in me to give to that product because it had a life of its own. It was prospering. So I just felt like this need to create more. And the area that I'm really interested is the well-being, but holistic well-being. Because we're not just physical, we're not just this mind that always keeps on going, we're also emotion, we're wholesome. And this is what I'm really interested in. So when I decided to quit Blake and to start something new. At first, I was really interested about creating some sort of different mindfulness approach in the form of an app. But then when I spoke to Andre, we're like, well, what about this? This has so much potential and it's connected to everything. It's still a wholesome approach. It is to activity, but still activity affects our minds as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, he jumped on board. And we also got Jasna and Luca, who are the other two co-founders aboard. And we've all been working together in the past on various projects. And we started working on what is now known as Gentler Streak in February 2021. So that was our whole focus. We knew that the app has something, but then we evolved the concept. Like we knew that because what we felt is that the majority of apps out there in the health and fitness market are very goal-oriented. Mm-hmm. And there's not much room to be in the grays. It's either you're black or you're white. You're either overachiever or you're a slob. And there's nothing in between.
Right.
Everything in between,
Right. And for those of us who sort of live in that in between, we feel like we either have to be the overachiever or we automatically are the slob, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think that goes for even, I don't have fibromyalgia, but I could still relate to that because let's say if you open Strava, what you see there, it's just best-ofs and mayor of I don't know what. And you get this pressure that you always have to be good. You always have to be better than your previous result. And even other apps in the niche, it seemed like there's just like, the challenges, like 30-day challenge of something. Why? What is that? And what happens after those 30 days? Well, you get a flat stomach. No, you don't. And what's the problem? What's really going to happen? Nothing. You're going to fail and you're going to feel like a loser. So a lot of it, when we were creating it in the first phase, we were just talking a lot. There was a lot of conversations amongst us with other people. We were doing a lot of research obviously on the internet. We were looking what other apps are saying in the reviews. And so, because we really wanted to approach this in the right way, like in a way that's kinder to a real human being and that's sustainable. So we knew that we want to move away from what's currently out there. Like when you have these apps that are also pretty cold, like you cannot develop a relationship with numbers, with stats. There's nothing to, it can motivate some people, those who are really educated in the area and invested. But let's say for a regular Jane or Joe, I don't know, it's like you again feel inadequate because you don't even understand the numbers. So our goal was to create something that a regular person can understand from the get-go and can be motivated by, can learn about the body, and can, in the long run, establish a relationship with themselves. Because I guess that's what it's all about. And you're doing it for you on the long run to keep yourself healthy. Because by being active, we are lowering the chances of non-communicable diseases. By being healthy the right amount, you also lower the chances for injury. And with injury, that means you have to stop. So then again, you come to those spurs and then, you're inactive for a couple of months, weeks, I don't know. Then you come back, you have fear of missing out because you were slacking for so long. And it's that vicious cycle. So we just wanted to create something that reflects the way we live, where sickness happens, where injuries happens, where we have period, where we experience, I don't know, some sort of pain and still be active on our own terms. That's a lot of words.
I was just thinking, wow, you're really passionate about this, which is so great. That's amazing. And it really reflects, like I said, as a person with a chronic illness, I have fibromyalgia. I also have autoimmune thyroid, there's things. And this, like I said earlier, this has been the first thing that didn't make me feel bad using it. Right? Wow. There have been other apps when I was on one of those spurts that I felt good, but it always made me want to do too much. And so inevitably that crash happened. And then, of course, you feel bad. And then it's hard to get back because you feel bad, right? So
yeah, because you have also, I think, because you have that experience of failing.
Yes, right.
And so when you come back, you already come back with some sort of baggage and something looming over you. Like, I don't know, it's just
not kind.
No, not kind at all. So that's why what we also, when I'm not native, we're not natives, but we still try. App is originally in English. And what we do try is like to really avoid any kind of messaging that could cause anxiety, that would make you feel less or inadequate or not good enough. To just create a holistic approach. And yeah, but to answer your question, so there was a lot of this.
Yes.
And then we launched iPhone app in September 21, which initially was just to test the grounds, to see, is this really something that the world needs, that the world is ready for, or is it just us? So there was no watch yet. We still read all the data from the health kits. So if you were working out and you were tracking your workouts with, I don't know, Apple's tracker or whichever, we got your data and there was an activity path and articles. So, there was guidance. There's guidance and it's all of the summaries. So you'd see your activity trends. It was good enough to launch with. And from what we've seen then, it looked really promising. The feedback was really good. We didn't get a lot of downloads because we're bootstrapped, meaning we invested our own money and not much or nothing was left for marketing. So the way we were developing, because we're all quite experienced, we knew that we need to get Apple's attention in some way so they could push us, they could show us in the App Store, and they were kind enough to do so. So the downloads we got and the retention we were seeing, it was all really positive. It was better than anything any one of us has seen before with other projects. So we were like, yes, on to the Apple Watch tracker. And so that came out in February last year, February 2022. And I think that's when everything changed. That's when we got our first PR. We don't pay for it. If people want to write about us, we're super humbled, happy, excited. And because that means, there's something there. So that was first great feedback when we got a mention on 9 to 5 Mac, which is the biggest Apple community blog. And then others started responding. So all good signals. And then in September last year, we got Editor's Choice Badge, which is only the best of apps on the App Store get it. You can imagine the excitement.
Yes.
And then in the same month, we were contacted by Apple saying they want us to come to Cupertino at the end of November for some sort of developer showcase, it was called back then. And we knew something was up, but, we didn't know what. I mean, we knew that Apple does App Store Awards at the end of the year, but that's huge. That's like, there's 2 million apps out there, and there's one app per device. And it's like, no, it's probably something different. It is a developer showcase, whatever that means. And they were prepping us because they told us that we'd be meeting a lot of journalists. So we found out about the awards 3 days before flying in.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Gosh. And you guys had only that was the same year that the Apple Watch app came out and the next year after you did your original launch.
Yeah, it all happened.
That's crazy fast.
Months. Yeah, it is. It is crazy fast. It's fast and it's furious.
So let's talk a little bit about how the app works, because the data that you use was different than I expected. So are you still pulling then from the health app in?
Yeah, we do.
So you don't store any of our data yourself, right? No. I think I had read that.
No, all we do is we read your data and we write the data to HealthKit, but basically nothing is, our app is empty all the time. When you open it, we say to Health, give me this data comes in, we put it through the algorithm, you see it like your data translated into words. When you close the app, your data goes back to HealthKit, to put it plainly.
Mm-hmm.
So everything stays with you on the device, none of it leaves it at any point. But so yeah, basically we work with whatever is in the health kit. And there's two things. There's workout tracking that you do with your watch. And I would say that the main differentiation of it is you see your daily readiness and you know how much of a battery, I don't like that word, that expression, but it's known in the fitness community. Mm-hmm. What's your daily battery? And you know how far to push that day. And while you're tracking with our app, you see yourself progressing on the bar. You see yourself reaching towards the overreaching part. So you know exactly how to pace yourself, when to stop, when to turn around. Or if you use a Go Gentler workout, which are personalized workout suggestions, you know that, let's say, okay, today you go for a walk for 30 minutes, zone 1, and that's that. And that's going to keep you inside healthy activity levels. So that's the tracking part. And then there's another part, which is the well-being tab, where you can observe your health metrics. And the best results come from you wearing your Apple Watch during the night, because there's no disturbance. It's just you, your body calm. And we look at your sleeping heart rate, your body temperature, oxygen levels, sleep duration, and then for women, period cycle, and there's one more, wrist temperature. No, did I say that already?
No, you didn't say that one.
And respiratory rate.
Yeah.
So we monitor that for you. I mean, the watch monitors it for you, but we just keep an eye on. So whenever we notice there's an uptick from your normal, again, we always look at your normal, not just the standards that are written. So whenever there's a change from your normal, we let you know and just say, okay, be mindful. I don't know, if your wrist temperature is up, we advise, okay, maybe it's good to double check. Maybe you were sleeping near the heating device. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe you're not really hot. So yeah, you have to know. I mean, Apple Watch is a great device. It's the best device out there at the moment regarding the health metrics, regarding reading your heart rate and getting the data out of it. But still, it's not a medical device.
Right.
So
right.
Everything we say, everything we show you, it shows something, but it may be wrong. It's not a supplement for a doctor, and it should not be taken as such.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
To say and to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
As great as it is, it's still not a medical device.
Exactly right. And, I mean, it could be anything from, like you said, maybe you're sleeping near a heater, or maybe your watch strap comes loose. And so you're getting intermittent data and not so your heart rate looks funny. All kinds of things could be happening for sure. I think it's so interesting that you guys use your sleeping heart rate. Most things these days are using heart rate variability. And I know you and I have talked about why, but why don't you just share with the people listening about why you guys made that decision?
Because we've done a lot of testing. We've used different devices to test it. We've used different apps. And our conclusion was that heart rate variability on Apple Watch is just not sufficient. But at the moment, it's not as good as it could or should be. Let's say Whoop, which is another device, they specialize in that. And Whoop's only feature Whoop's main task is to observe your heart rate. And it does that greatly. While Apple Watch does that and 100 of other things as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
So if Apple Watch would be doing the same as Whoop, probably the battery would have to be 10 times bigger. I don't have a clue because I'm not an engineer. I'm just trying to make...
Right. Because the Apple Watch, it does heart rate variability, but there are some times where it might only do 2 or 3 readings in a day.
Not enough, far from enough readings per night. Yes.
Yeah.
So the conclusion we came to after months of testing was no, the most reliable metric is the sleeping heart rate, because we noticed there was a correlation between sleeping heart rate on Apple Watch and Whoop's heart rate variability. We could see that those two talk amongst themselves nicely, that they understand each other. While heart rate variability on Apple Watch, very unreliable, different to Whoop's, sometimes same, sometimes totally off. So for now, we show it in the app as one of the metrics, but it does not play an important part in our algorithm. So it's just there for you to observe, but as long as Apple Watch is the way it is, it's not going to be a part of our algorithm. There are apps that do it, but if you would compare that data to Whoop, which I would say it's a great device for heart rate variability, you would see that they do not match.
Right. Like having a reliable measuring stick, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like having a thermometer that's off or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so interesting that you guys use sleeping heart rate because, oh gosh, it's probably been 10 years or so. That's actually what I used to always teach my clients about exercise, was to take their heart rate first thing in the morning before moving, before getting out of bed. Because of course, 10 years ago, we didn't have an Apple Watch to do that while you were sleeping for you. So, take your heart rate first thing in the morning. And if your heart rate goes up, you're overdoing it. And that's exactly what you guys do. So I think that's so interesting.
Because your sleeping heart rate is very talkative, and it will affect, if your sleeping heart rate goes up, your respiratory rate will go up. Your sleep may not be as good as it is on a regular night. It probably won't affect the wrist temperature, but it causes some disturbance in the body. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that something's up. And even if your wrist temperature will go up and your sleeping heart rate is up, then something is most probably cooking.
And I noticed that, in my life, I definitely notice my sleeping heart rate goes up when I have done more than usual. So a couple weekends ago, my husband and I, flew for a family trip, and all the walking around the airport and like all the extra energy that night, my sleeping heart rate was up. And then I didn't sleep well because it's a hotel bed. So my sleeping heart rate is still up, right? And it's just such a great way to external, a measurable way to know, my body is thinking, hold on, you did too much.
Yep. To just be mindful, to know, something's up. And then to just observe yourself and see how you feel, how it feels. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even for those, I don't wear an Apple Watch during sleep because it bothers me. I'm just one of those people that I don't want to have any device in my bedroom. I have a no devices policy in the bedroom, and that goes for the watch as well. So for me, it's the resting heart rate, which is also, let's say, if you're not super hectic, but you do have moments or minutes, hours of sitting down, it's also pretty telling. And you can also tell pretty fast. I can tell that, I don't know, if my heart rate goes 5 above the normal up and down, I know that something's happening. It may be stress or maybe something's.
Right, like starting to get sick or something like that, right? Yeah.
So I appreciate the Apple Watch for that. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
In advance, I noticed that the last couple of times when I got sick, my resting heart rate went up, 2-3 days before I actually got sick. Like it was slow. Yeah.
So because your body is already starting to fight off what's happening, right?
Yes. Yeah. And, if you're not mindful, you don't even notice that. It just flies by.
Right. So one of the things that I have noticed when I'm exercising is I love watching that little dot move along. And I love it when it pops up and tells me, 10 minutes to overreaching, right? Because so often with fibromyalgia and other things, we don't know until we've done it. And maybe not even until the next day that we did too much, right? So I love that. How do you know that in the moment? Do you use like heart rate? Do you use other numbers? Like, how do you know that in the moment that 10 minutes I'm going to be doing too much?
It's the activity path you see. I will try to explain this as simple as I can.
Please.
It's based on TRIMP algorithm, which is an industry standard. Strava uses it, Garmin uses it. So if you dig into Strava or Garmin, you would notice this same cloud path, whatever you want to call it. But with them, it's just like buried somewhere in the ground. And what this is essentially, it shows it's a combination of your previous workouts, of the intensity of the workouts and the strain those workouts took on your body, and how it affected your fitness, if that makes sense.
Yes,
So we know how fatigued you are during time, but we also know how that improved your fitness.
Right. So if I normally do a 20-minute walk and my heart rate is normally 110 beats a minute, and my sleeping heart rate goes up, that maybe I did a little bit too much. But then you also look at over time, maybe my sleeping heart rate goes down, meaning that I'm at a better fitness level. Something like that.
Yeah, you will notice that whenever your fitness increases, you will notice that your resting or sleeping heart rate goes down. And that's one of the things we're going to do in the future. Right now on well-being, you only have health metrics. And you see your trend for the past, I think, a week or 10 days. But in the future, we're going to introduce proper activity trends. So you'll be able to see direct correlation of how your workouts impact your health. So you see, oh, okay, so I was, regularly active from March 2023. My resting heart rate at that time was 72. Oh, and I was active all throughout the time, and see my sleeping heart rate was declining slowly, and it's now 64. So that's on you. That's your observations. We don't read from that. This is like, it's an algorithm. This is the TRIMP algorithm that I was saying, that takes into consideration your age, your gender, or your heart rate. And basically, your heart rate is the most telling source of everything, because we see the pace you're going at and we see the heart rate. So we can tell from that if someone's walking, 10 minutes per kilometer, and their heart rate is going to be, 120, we see, that this is zone 2, while someone else will be in zone 0, while the third person will be in zone 4. So through that, the algorithm then, does its magic.
Yeah, that works for me.
And lets you know how much strain that took on the body. But still, strain also creates resilience, but you have to be smart with it. You can't that's why rest days. That's why sometimes take it easy. That's why sometimes it's good to push. Like we'd say that if someone who's regularly active, it's not wrong to push twice during the week through the overreaching, but not in a row. Don't create let it not be a pattern. Don't create a trend of overreaching. But let's say if I want to progress, I can go a bit harder on Monday and then on Friday. That's okay. As long as in between I'm listening to my body and I'm either resting, doing mild exercises, doing walks.
Staying within the sweet spot on your path, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. And one of the reasons for you listening that I love this app is that it really is reflecting each individual person, right? So if you're a fibro person and you've been not exercising at all, obviously it's going to be a lot harder for you to walk a mile fast than it is for, Katarina, who's a recreational runner, right? Like, obviously, it's going to be harder on your body. You're going to be working harder, and it's going to reflect that. And then if you've overdone it, it's going to reflect that as well. So I think it's great. And I love that you said that in order to progress, we have to reach, right? And that's true of everything in life, right? You got to go outside your comfort zone if you want something different, right?
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah.
And I would say if someone's new to the app, that they may be seeing and maybe new to exercising as well, or being regularly active, they may be seeing overreaching a lot at the beginning, and they should not get scared of it, because the algorithm needs about 60 days of data to get to know you well. And as soon, let's say after about 60 days is perfect, but after approximately 2 weeks, we already gather enough data if someone's regularly active. And by regularly, I mean whatever means regular to you. Okay, if we get 2 workouts in 2 weeks, that probably won't be enough. But I think if we get anything from 6 above, I'm speaking from the top of my head because I'm not an engineer, but from experience that I've had, let's say 6 in 2 weeks would probably be good to get a rough idea of where you're at. And yeah, I would just say that people should not be put off if they see overreaching a lot. I would say at the beginning, when that happens, they should still mostly listen to their body. If they feel tired, they should stop or rest the next day. But the algorithm will get to know them, and eventually it will be harder to overreach. And by saying that, I would also maybe say that right now we are in the phase where we are rethinking the daily fitness status. You know how it looks like every day in the morning, you get a short description of your status.
Yeah.
And then after the workout, it changes. And it's still the same. It changed is how it was when we started in September 2021. We've changed it slightly since the well-being tab, but now we're going to do it more properly. Like, because there's different scenarios that now they all fell in the same good enough bucket, but now that bucket will become, 5 little buckets. So it will be, the fitness description will be even more in tune with your body. So people will not be seeing overreaching. The people who are new to the app won't be bombarded with the overreaching so much at the beginning, because we see that a lot of them got scared or just fed up, or thought like, oh, why is the app shouting at me that I'm overreaching and I'm fit? And we get it. We get it. And we're going to do it. We're going to improve. We're going to do it justice. But it's a big task. It's a big task. And I hope we launch it in December sometime.
That's great. That's great. So as we're talking about all of this, one of the things that comes to mind is a question I've gotten from some of my students, which is when you tell Gentler Streak you're doing a workout, obviously it knows. And for those of us with fibro and other things, like if you're going to walk around the farmer's market, tell it you're doing a workout. If you're doing more activity than normal, if you're walking around the mall, if you're, even if it's not a workout for you, it is. So start that workout. But how does Gentler Streak keep track of just like the other activity in your life? So for instance, when we traveled, all that walk around the airport, I did not tell it that it was a workout, but obviously I'm doing more activity. So how does that play a factor?
That's a tricky one, because whenever you don't track an activity, the Apple Watch only reads your heart rate, I think, is it 4 or 5 times per minute? Or no, sorry. Probably even less. I think I overestimated right now. I would have to look. But it only reads, it's like it gives very scarce readings of your heart rate. So if we get scarce readings, we can't know the effort of what you're doing, the impact of what you're doing on your heart. So whenever you do steps, a lot of people say, yeah, I've done so many steps, I walked so much, but it doesn't reflect. We do look at exercise minutes and we take that into consideration, and that affects your activity pad. But not everything goes into exercise, because they also have, a certain cutoff.
Right. It looks like your heart rate has to be over a certain amount or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever you could do 20,000 steps, but if your heart rate was 80 all the time, it won't show. So I would say, but whenever you do track, Apple Watch gets your heart rate every couple of seconds. So I think we get 20 readings per minute, something like that, which gives us great insight into what's happening, into how intense the workout is.
Right.
So we say, just track as much as possible. If you want to have good results, track as much as possible. There is one other option that you could always do, that you could log a workout by hand in the app. So you could go to the activity tab and there's a plus in the upper right corner and you could add, I don't know, a walk, then you'd insert time. And if you'd insert, okay, I was walking today in between 1 and 2 in the afternoon, we would still look into health and get all your heart rate readings, but probably there isn't many, so we would not learn much from it. And then there's a RPE chart with which you can decide how intense the workout felt for you. It's from 0 to 10. We try to help you with short descriptions of what each number means, so you don't overdo it. And then that will reflect in the activity path. So you could just log, I don't know, you went on a trip, you were walking the airport, and then at the end of the day, you could just log a walk for an hour, and you'd say, oh, this was really intense, I will give it a 5. And let's say that your workouts are usually a 2. So 5 would mean, okay, I really pushed it. And then you would see it would reflect in your activity path. If that workout is not written as exercise minutes, no, I wanted to say that it would double the exercise because it would still be in exercise minutes. But yeah, if the heart rate was too low for the watch to detect it as exercise, you wouldn't do it.
Right. And I've noticed that it always surprises me what Apple thinks is exercise minutes. Right. Walking up the stairs, sometimes I might get 1 exercise minute, but sometimes like walking through the airport, it might give me nothing. So it just, I don't know.
It's a black box. It's a black box. And people also ask like, well, you notice when I'm moving around, why don't you just bump me and say, okay, I want to track? We would love to do that, but we can't. Third-party developers don't have access to that. Only Apple's native workout app can do it.
Right, because you're not storing any data and you only pull our data when we open the app, right?
Yeah, but even if Apple allowed third-party developers to detect that heart rate went up, because they do it, they do it.
Right,
and that's why you get a notification, oh, you're walking. Do you want to track? Because you get that from Apple Native's workout app. And we'd like access to that, but they're like, So
you can only do what mama and daddy tell you to do.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Well, that definitely helps. So for you listening, if you want to try Gentler Streak, this would actually be a good time, I think, Katarina, to tell people we've got a special deal for them, which I will say in a minute. But if you want to try Gentler Streak, make sure that you are starting the workout in Gentler Streak and do it anytime you're doing activities. So I'll be honest, I've had clients that doing the dishes was exercise. Going to get the mail was exercise. Yeah.
We have a workout type, daily chores.
Oh, perfect. Vacuuming is exercise.
Gardening.
Yes, absolutely. So, especially at the beginning when you're getting started, mark as much as you can, particularly if you're moving your body and if your heart rate is going, mark that because it will really help. So let's go ahead and share with everybody what we're doing special for listeners of the Fibromyalgia podcast. If you'd like to check out Gentler Streak, Katarina has something special for you.
Well, we have a 2-month free trial for everyone. So you get all the premium features, you get full access to everything, and you can really try this out and see if it works for you.
I love that because you said, it takes about 60 days to get
Yes.
good data. So make sure that you are tracking every time you're moving your body, and that will really help you. And I think you guys are really going to find this to be a helpful tool for knowing when you're doing too much, when you're about to do too much, and maybe why you feel the way you feel sometimes. I love it when it tells me, I think you might need to rest today.
It's refreshing, right?
To get the link to get your 2-month free trial, go to today's show notes. It's fibromyalgiapodcast.com/121, and we'll have that link in today's show notes.
I would just like to say that, those 60 days, they don't have to be tracked with Gentler Streak. If you are tracking your workouts, if you're out there and tracking workouts with whichever app that writes data to HealthKit, when you're going to open Gentler Streak, we're going to reach out for that data, and the app's going to be personalized from the get-go. So it's only if your HealthKit is empty that we need to learn. But otherwise, we know you from day zero.
Awesome.
If there's workout data in the HealthKit, you're good. You don't have to wait.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But I also imagine that there might be some people who go out and get an Apple Watch so that they can do this. And there might not be anything in there yet.
Yeah. In that scenario.
Yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up for people too, I know you mentioned not wearing your watch at night. And I have another gal who doesn't wear her watch at night, but she's got a smart bed.
Oh.
So she was able to get her bed to write to the health app, to HealthKit, and then you pull from that, right? Yeah.
We do. Yeah. As long we read everything that's written in the HealthKit and that you give us permissions to and bring it into. But the thing is that some apps don't share everything with HealthKit. Some apps still decide to keep all of the data with themselves and to use it for their intent, and they write scattered data to HealthKit. So sometimes that may not be of best help to us.
Got it. Yeah.
Let's say we write everything we get with the workout tracker to the HealthKit, and we allow all other apps to use that data. But that's on the developer to decide. We could say, yes, just write every 20th second to HealthKit. Or
right. Yeah.
say, yes, you can. There's data in HealthKit, but only this app can use it and that one. Because we get a lot of questions, why don't you sync to Strava? Strava doesn't import data from us. It's like its data's there, but they just decide to not to because, I don't know, they want to stimulate people to use their activity tracker. Yeah.
Right. So if you are using an app or device or something, and you want to know if you can get data in Gentler Streak, the thing to check is if it's in your health app first, right?
Yeah, yes. If data is written in health app, but if people have issues, they should always reach out to us. That's support@gentlerstories.com, and we'll get back to them. I think that's the best thing to do. Because people can get lost, I think HealthKit is semi-friendly for everyday users, one of the everyday users. But on our side, we have developers, we have people who know what's what and are happy to help.
Perfect. I love it. So as we wrap up, I would love to share a little bit of the information that you've gotten from our community specifically. So for you listening, Katarina and I have been working together for a little while and have had some of my students and coaches working with Gentler Streak and then giving feedback as to how this is helpful for us with fibromyalgia. And you guys are doing some fun things with that information. You want to share some of that?
Yes, sure. Well, first of all, let me say that when you reached out to me first, I was super happy. First of all, that you found the app, because
right.
There's loads of apps that you gave it a chance. And then once you did that it actually worked for you. So, in the beginning, when we were forming a concept, and I said, we've mentioned this many times during our conversation, it really is about your metrics And we knew that it worked for us, and we assumed that it can work for people with various fitness backgrounds and levels. But then to hear it, that actually it works in the wild, that's a different story. So we were super excited, grateful, happy that it actually does work. And yes, you were kind enough to ask your people if they want to share their experience with us. And I got some great feedback. I think what stuck out the most was that they all said they've tried many apps in the past and they either overworked themselves and then they were stuck doing nothing for a long time and they just felt like, not capable enough and they gave up, and that this is the first app that actually keeps them motivated and keeps them active. And that they also observed that fitness level going up, their overall well-being going up. And what they like is that it's personalized, that it allows gentle movement, that it also supports gentle movement, that it recognizes just workouts that may seem, easy on the outside, but are not for the person. So all of that was super helpful for us to hear for us, because we want to help people with similar problem, with chronic pain, fatigue, to hear about us and give it a go. And so what was said was also like that it's really good because it's keeping them active while managing their fibromyalgia symptoms. So working hand in hand. And I guess that's what it's all about, to find the right movement for you, whoever you are. Yeah. So it's all in your heart. Like your heart is a really telling sign of how intense something is and what you're capable of.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
Character in the app, it's your heart. It's a fun. It's like it's your heart. So essentially it is your heart telling you you're pushing too hard, you need to rest, you need to take it easy, or maybe that you need to step up. Yeah.
I love how gentle it is. And I love that you actually use that in the name of the app, because it is so very gentle. Even when you've done too much, it's nice about it. Even when you maybe should do a little bit more, it's nice about it. It's very gentle.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything you would like to share with everyone who is maybe, a little scared about exercising or using another app when maybe their experience hasn't been so great?
Well, obviously, I would say give it a go, give it a try. You can't really lose anything, I'd say, like opening yourself to something new. I understand that it may be exhausting or tiring if you've tried many apps and failed with them, through them, that they didn't give you a positive experience. And then you maybe lock yourself out of trying new stuff. But maybe find that courage. I don't know. Just be curious and see. I mean, there's also a different way to approach things. I think that what this is, it shows a different way to be active and a different way, to treat yourself through this, I guess. That I hope that you become your own companion. Does that sound weird? But you know what I mean? So
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't shout at yourself. You don't put yourself down. You don't push yourself hard when you can't. But that this helps you be kinder, be gentler with yourself. That you treat yourself like you would treat your best friend if you knew how they felt in that moment. We're trying to be that voice, and we're trying to help you develop that voice inside yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. I love that so much. And it really is how we talk to ourselves, how we treat ourselves. It always reminds me of these two different personal trainers I had when I was younger. One of them was very much the boot instructor, the drill sergeant who was like, give me 10 more kind of thing. And I always inside, I would rebel against that and be like, no, I can't. Right. And then the second personal trainer I had, her approach was, do you think you can do 10 more. And I'd be like, oh, hell yeah. Right. And I feel like Gentler Streak is that second voice that's like, how do you feel? Do you think you can do some more? And that may not be the right voice for everybody, but I tell you what, for fibro people, it is more the right voice than some of those others that are like, go for a personal best today. That might not be the right thing for today.
Yeah. And those people, they already have loads of options.
Yep.
They have loads of options to choose from, while we felt we were not represented on the market. And we're just regular folks who try to be regularly active with no end goal, with no best super results or whatever, but just keeping it steady, keeping it healthy, fun, being motivated. And, essentially we created this for ourselves. To be active.
Right.
In a way, it's sad that we have to say in a kind way, because it's just in a way that supports our bodies. It doesn't exploit them, what we can do if we go with that second scenario. But this is just to support our bodies as they are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's amazing. So y'all remember, we've got a 2-month free trial. Just go to today's show notes and there'll be a link or a link, right? Where people can get the special. Yeah. Yes. So there'll be a link where you can get the special option to have a 2-month free trial. Today's show notes, fibromyalgiapodcast.com/121. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making the app. And thank you so much too for just like embracing how this can help our community and really like wanting to be part of that and not just be like, well, we made it for us.
We made it for everyone. We made it for ourselves, but with that in mind, for everyone, like for everyone who feels they don't belong in that super hardcore, bigger, better, faster group.
Yes, that is exactly it. That is exactly it. And I hate to ask this question at the end because that was a perfect place to stop. But I need to ask this question because I know I'm going to get a bunch of emails. So we might as well just put it in the podcast episode. This is an Apple app and it is not an Android app. And would you just explain a little bit about that?
So yes, it is an iOS app that works on Apple Watch, iPhone, and iPad. We'd love to make an app, and we may make it sometime in the future, but there's 2 reasons why there isn't an Android app out there right now. One is that we're all iOS people with 10 plus years of experience in the iOS ecosystem. That's the first thing. And then there's the second thing, that we work with your heart data. And Apple Watch is the only watch. And at the moment, it's the best watch out there for reading your heart rate and for your health metrics. It's the best device. It's the most reliable device. We know what we get. When we look into the health hit, we know that data is true. While with Android, there's loads of different apps. There's loads of qualities of those heart rate readers, and the quality of data written in the health libraries on Android varies. So that would mean that the data you would see in your app may be false, would not be accurate, and in the end, we'd be the ones misguiding you or misleading you or unintentionally. So if we ever decide to create an app for Android, I think we're going to have to give it, good thought and do research. And it is a slippery slope. Whenever you're working with health, even though it's not a medical device, it's still serious business. And we still want to approach it, with respect, being cautious. And so, yeah, that's why no Android at the moment.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point about the varying quality of data, right? You might have some Android devices that give you great quality data, and there might be others that the data is maybe suspect, and you don't necessarily know that on your end, right? And so you might be making predictions based off of bad data.
Yeah, that's it in a gist, because here there's only one device. And there's 30 plus devices or 50, I don't even know. Some are great, some are not so great. And with all of the sudden, we'd be reading from all of them. And it's a bit scary. Yeah.
I totally get that. And I always tell people too, I mean, in an old life, I actually was the customer service manager for a software company. So I understand a little bit about that world, but I always tell people that, programming, it's a language like any other language. It's like asking me to write my book in French or Spanish when I don't speak French or Spanish. So yeah, I get it. All right, then. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Everybody, remember, go out, get your 2-month free trial. Honestly, you got nothing to lose. You got 2 free months. Go try it and see. Track your data. If you have any questions, everybody at Gentler Stories has been great for interacting with. If you need help, we've had several people reach out for help and they've been awesome. So definitely do that. And thank you again, Katarina.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, for having me, and for spreading the word. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
And that wraps up my interview with Katarina Lotrič, CEO and co-founder of Gentler Stories, the creators behind the app Gentler Streak. Now, I've got a few more things I'd like to share with you about how I actually use Gentler Streak on a day-to-day basis. So I hope just because the interview is over, you still keep listening because I've got a few more goodies for you. So first of all, when I get up in the morning, I always check the well-being tab in Gentler Streak. This really gives me a great objective indication of what my energy level is going to be for the day. This helps me sort of calibrate my thinking, right? You know how it is, right? We might have a bad night's sleep. Maybe that's every night. And then we still go and push really hard and do all the things and all the stuff, right? But by looking at that well-being tab and seeing what Gentler Streak tells me for how my body is doing, it helps me recalibrate to know, today I need to be a little more gentle with myself. All those things that I was planning to do today, maybe I just do some of them and save some of them for tomorrow. Or maybe I look and it says, you're doing amazing, and maybe I do a little bit more. But that well-being tab can be a really great external indicator for how you feel. Because I think with fibromyalgia, so often, we don't know until we've crossed that line, right? We get up in the morning, we might feel tired, but we feel tired every day. So we just do all the things anyway. And then we crash, right? But this well-being tab can give us an indicator, your normal level of tired, or no, you didn't sleep well, you didn't get enough sleep, there's something going on, maybe you're getting sick. Your heart rate is up at night, your respiratory rate is up at night, whatever it is, and give you an objective indicator that all is not as it usually is, and maybe you should be a little more gentle today. The other thing that I do is anytime I'm exercising, I track it in Gentler Streak. Anytime I'm doing something that is simply more activity than normal, like going for a walk, walking around Costco or the mall, cleaning out the garage, grocery shopping, whatever it is, I track it as a workout in Gentler Streak. I want Gentler Streak to know I am moving my body. And it really doesn't matter how much or how little it is. I try to turn that on as often as possible. And the main reason for that is what Katarina was just sharing in the interview, that when you are tracking something as a workout, it takes more readings of your heart rate and your heart rate variability and everything else, right? So if we're tracking it as a workout, then it has more data to work with. So anytime I'm moving my body, I try to mark it as a workout. I make lots and lots of use of the other category that's listed there in the workouts, because sometimes it's, Katarina said we've got household chores in there, we've got indoor walks in there. But I tell you what, when I'm standing on my Vibe plate, that is something that I mark as a workout, and I use other for that. Now, as I am exercising or during any activity, I keep an eye on my watch. I also will often open up the app on my phone and use the mirror tracking option just because the phone screen is bigger and I can see more, but that's not always handy, right? Like if you're cleaning the garage, for instance, or going grocery shopping, you might not always have that phone right there in front of you. So you can absolutely look at your watch too. But I keep an eye on that to make sure that I'm not overreaching, that I'm not doing too much. Again, this can be a great objective external measuring stick for you to know, I'm on the edge. I'm about to do too much. And you can choose to go over, right? But you can also choose to, this is where I need to wind it up and be done. It also gives you a great thing that you can show other people in your life to be able to say, hey, look, I'm doing too much. I need to slow down. And that can be really helpful. Now, I always try, my goal is to keep my activity path, my little dots on the green line, if you're looking at the app, I try to make sure that my activity path is right on the line between the middle and the top bands. So kind of right in that sweet spot there. As Katarina said, it's okay and even good to go above that activity path a couple times a week so you can increase your fitness. But you don't want to be going over all the time. And to be completely honest, when you're starting out, you might discover that you actually need to be doing less, not doing more, because you're continually overreaching just with normal life. You might discover, oh my goodness, no wonder I'm so exhausted after a 20-minute walk. I really should just be doing a 10-minute walk, or maybe I should be doing that 20-minute walk at a slower pace. So there are lots of good information that the app can give you. And most often I see people realize, I need to pull it back a little bit. And there's no judgment in that, right? It's just data. There is nothing like, oh, you're a bad person because you can't do this. This is just like actually how your body feels, right? The other thing that I do is I use my Gentler Streak activity path to keep me motivated to keep moving. So when you're looking at the path, you can kind of pull it to the side and you can kind of look into the future. So you can see, for instance, if I don't do anything today, where will I be on that path tomorrow? Sometimes it's a good reason to take a rest day. Because, I'm going to be fine if I skip today. But sometimes I'll look at it and be like, ooh, if I don't work out today, if I don't exercise today, if I don't move today, then tomorrow will actually drop me off the path. And it's a good motivator to do something. So again, I always check it in the morning. I always check it when I'm moving my body, particularly if I'm doing something that is more strenuous than usual. And then I also look at it to help me decide, am I going to keep going today? Am I going to take it a rest day? And to kind of keep my motivation up. If you're going to try Gentler Streak, and remember, you've got a 2-month free trial to use this. When you're using it, remember to mark anything as an activity. If you do gentle yoga, track it. If you're doing housework like vacuuming, track it. If you're going grocery shopping, if you're going to the store, track it. I went to go pick up my new iPad the other day and I marked that as a indoor walk because I had to hike halfway down the mall to get to the Apple store. So go ahead and mark anything you can as an activity. It helps you to know, it helps the app to know. It just really helps to give you better data. Now, as I mentioned when I was talking with Katarina, I've had clients who discovered that certain activities should be counted as exercise in a way that they did not expect. I had one client that discovered that doing the dishes should be considered exercise. Same client also discovered that anytime she walked down to the mailbox, she needed to actually count that as exercise. Another client would actually have her heart rate in the aerobic zone, sitting in her bed knitting. Now, there's no judgment in this, none whatsoever. This is just data. It is what it is. And trying to say that something isn't exercise when it is, like saying that knitting is not an aerobic activity when all the signals are there in her body saying otherwise, that's just lying. And it's harmful. It's harmful to you, your mental state. It's harmful to your body to try to say something is one thing when it's actually not. So what you do is going to affect your body in a certain way, regardless of the judgments that you place on it. Once you're realistic about what you can actually do with the body that you really live in right now, today, you can make better choices. And those better choices will lead you into healing, which will help you feel better and minimize your fibromyalgia, and ultimately let you do more in a gentle way. So I wanted to share with you some comments that I've gotten from some of my students and coaches who have been using Gentler Streak, just to kind of give you an example. Brenda said that this app kept me from a downward spiral of not doing my exercise today. I truly love this app. She probably did what I often do, which is slide that path to the left there and see, yes, if I don't exercise today, I'll fall off the path, so I better do something. So it can kind of keep you moving. Deb said, I've just upped my walking distance, and the first time the app told me in no uncertain terms that I had overdone it. She said, I took it slower the following time, and I was back in the good books. Great data. Now, in Deb's case, Gentler Streak was able to help her determine that it wasn't really how far she walked or even necessarily how long that she walked that was the problem. It was that combination of duration or distance, how long, how far, and intensity, how fast she was walking. By keeping the same distance going at a slower, lower intensity, she was able to keep her body happy. So Gentler Streak is really great at that as well. You will see if you're using the app, when you look at the gentler options, the Go Gentler options for how to exercise, you might see that, a walk at zone 0, a low intensity walk, you can maybe do 20 minutes. But if you're doing a more intense walk, maybe you should only do 8 minutes. So it'll give you a good indicator of that. Now, remember, Katarina and the team at Gentler Stories have offered you a special 2-month free trial so you can see how this works for yourself. You've got nothing to lose. I would encourage you to try the app. If you've got an Apple Watch, if you've got an iPhone, try the app. See maybe how it can help you. See how this works for yourself. Just go to today's show notes and we will have the link there where you can get that 2-month free trial. On the show notes page, I'll also put some screenshots of my own Gentler Streak app so that you can see what kind of information it will give you. And the show notes for today, just go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com/121 for episode 121, and that link will be listed there. And now I've got this week's listener shout out for you. This is an email that I just received from Carrie. Literally, I got the email right before I got on to record this. And she says, thank you, Tami. I was just talking to my coach, Anne, about my menopause symptoms and how it was affecting my fibro. Also, thank you for the book. You and Anne have changed my life, and I can't thank you enough. I've improved so much, I'm crying thinking about it. Don't ever stop making episodes. Thank you. And thank you, Carrie. Honestly, it's notes like these that keep me going. Because, of course, I'm sitting here recording this episode in my office all by myself. And so sometimes it doesn't feel like it's making a difference. So I really, really appreciate it when you guys send in your little love notes, because it really does keep me going. And I would love it if you would post these things as reviews as well. There are lots of podcasts out there, And your reviews help people know that this one is worth listening to. So I would love it if you would do that. I also just wanted to mention a couple things about her note there. The episode that Carrie is talking about is episode 119. I actually interviewed Jean Andrus, who is the menopause guru, and we talked a lot about menopause and fibromyalgia. So if you're a woman and you are, well, if you're a woman, I'll just end the sentence there. If you're a woman, you need to listen to that episode. Episode 119, we talk a lot about menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, and how that can be a factor with fibromyalgia. She also mentioned, she said, thank you for the book. If you are not aware, you can get free copies of both of my books on the Fibromyalgia Podcast website. Just go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com. You'll see books in the top menu there, and you can download the complete full copy of the book as a download. It includes both the Fibromyalgia Coach, which is my book about finding work that supports your healing, and my first book with the updated edition, the one that just came out last year, Take Back Your Life. That really is a treatment guide, tells my story. It's all the information that I share with my clients and in our Certified Fibromyalgia Advisor training program. That book is actually part of the curriculum for that training program. So go out, grab your free copies. And if you are interested in working with a coach, like Carrie is working with Anne is one of the coaches that you can meet with, just go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com and look for Find a Coach in the menu. That will take you to our Find a Coach page, where you can apply for a consultation with one of our students or coaches. There's everything there from free scholarship consultations to consultations with students, consultations with certified coaches like Anne, and occasionally we even have a couple of spots to meet with me directly, although those are kind of few and far between just because my schedule is pretty booked. But there are lots of people out there that are available to help you. So if you ever want to have a conversation, if you want to talk about what's going on with you, if you want to get new ideas for how you can feel better, if you want someone to support you and walk with you through this journey of figuring out fibromyalgia, absolutely reach out. We would love to meet with you and help you through our coaches. So that wraps it up for today. I will see you back here next time as we talk about generational trauma. I have Rochelle Khanna coming. She's a licensed clinical social worker, and she is in the process of writing a book about generational trauma. And we will be talking about that on our next episode. See you back here next time. And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stacklehouse. For daily doses of hope, inspiration, and practical advice, come hang out with me on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/fibrocoach to find my personal coaching page and connect with me directly. To find the show notes, additional resources, or to schedule a consultation with me or one of my coaches, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com.